The Patriots are coming off the bye with a chance to win the AFC East against Buffalo. What's it going to take to get it done? Let's break it down.
He's sacked, intercepted, into the end zone, touchdown, Patriots!
Welcome, everybody. It's a huge week here at Gillette Stadium. Patriots coming off their bye with a chance to clinch the AFC East title. Kind of crazy, Evan. Do you ever think we'd be sitting here?
No, I still don't really think we're sitting here. This is all... Look at us. Who would have thought?
Look at us. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
I mean, huge opportunity, though, for this team. And that, to me, is you come out of the bye, you have 4 games to go. They're all in the AFC. And there's 2 games against really 2 MVP candidates from last year. I know Bills, Ravens, not quite playing the level maybe they played last year. But when I look at, let's start with Josh Allen. I mean, that's the place to start. MVP last year of the league, playing great. You could see last week against the Bengals, he really stepped up. He's getting into that mode where it feels like, I'm going to be Superman. I'm going to get my team to where we need to go. But still, I think there are some holes in this team on the defensive side of the ball and even offensively that the Patriots can maybe take advantage of.
Absolutely. He, to me, is right now the best quarterback in the NFL. And Drake May's knocking on the door, right? The club is right there for Drake May for the taking. He's in line, right, of the superstar club there at that position. But if I was a defensive coordinator, the quarterback I would fear the most in terms of defending would be Josh Allen, because there just isn't a whole lot of weaknesses to his game. You know, he's got every throw in his bag. He's got the ability to attack any part of the field efficiently. There's no parts of the heat map that are, dark or blue or whatever. Like, all those areas of the field are available to him. The scrambling ability, the extended plays, which are obviously the backbreakers when he gets outside the pocket and throws down the field late in the down. So he is he's a cyborg. He's an alien. And it gets very tough to defend him. Now, at the same time, I think what you have to look at with the Bills is defending the rest of the offense. Like, can you go out there and shut down a receiver group that is a little bit limited, that isn't as good as it was a couple of years ago when they had prime Stephon Diggs out there and some other pieces. So this is a okay Bills supporting cast, but it's definitely a weaker supporting cast than what we've seen in the past in Buffalo. And that's, if you're looking at this offense, can Christian Gonzalez, Carlton Davis, and Marcus Jones, can you just man up on these receivers, challenge them to separate down the field, and maybe give Allen some problems?
Yeah, I mean, numbers that stand out to me, 3 fourth-quarter comebacks this year, 3 game-winning drives. I mean, Josh Allen in the clutch. My feeling is this game's going to come down to the end. And is Drake May ready to take that next step where it's probably going to be a back-and-forth game? You saw a little bit against the Bengals with turnovers. It gets crazy. But, if it comes down to the end, can Drake May defeat Josh Allen in this kind of game? One of my big questions. But let's talk about James Cook, too. Leads the league in attempts. They want to rush the ball.
Yeah. And
when you look back at that first matchup this season, Patriots had some early success. Didn't really let them get going. Bills turned the ball over a couple times. You can tell, I'd look at maybe back at the Bills-Pittsburgh game a couple weeks ago where they rushed for a ton of yards. They didn't score a lot of points. I mean, they had their first offensive touchdown until halfway through the third quarter, but they were playing the game on their terms. And, when you look without Milton Williams, big piece to that Patriots run defense, really successful. One piece of optimism, though, for me is Kyrus Tonga, who full participant this week in practice. Seems like he's headed for a return. He was great in that first matchup, dominating that very good interior line of the Bills. But how important is it for this Patriots team to contain James Cook? I mean, I don't think he had a run over like 5-6 yards in that first matchup. So keeping him contained, not letting the chunk yards, and then you got to deal with Josh Allen, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think that is sneakily the most important part of this game. And I know everybody looks at Josh Allen and says, I mean, how could you say that, right, when you have the MVP of the league? But I think when you look at this Bills offense, the most consistent part of their offense is their run game. And everything sort of branches off the run game right now. They're top 5 in the league in run rate. They're top 5 in the league in putting the quarterback under center. Their play action rate is starting to creep up every single week. So that is what they're becoming right now in Buffalo, is we're going to put the quarterback under center. First down's probably going to be a run. Second down's probably going to be some sort of play action, whether it's, pulling a guard and running the crossing route by the tight end, or moving the pocket with Josh Allen, of course, on bootlegs and things like that. So everything sort of is branching off of that run game right now. And you look at how they like to run the football. There's a lot of window dressing. There's a lot of motion. They're number 1 in the league right now in motion rate. But the one thing I see with this Bills offense that I do think you can kind of key in on is they run a lot of the same plays. They are a big repeat play kind of offense. They have like 4 or 5 staple plays that they run all the time. And they're going to dress it up differently. They're going to present it to you differently, different personnel groupings, motions, false pullers, all that great stuff. But then once it declares, it's the same play, right? So if you can sort of sort through all the nonsense and then just focus in on your keys and anticipate a little bit of what they want to do, I do think that this offense is maybe a little bit more limited in terms of the scope of what they run than what they have been in the past.
Yeah, you look at a guy like Robert Spillane, probably good recognition from that veteran, understanding what they're trying to do.
Discipline. Like,
blowing plays up in the backfield.
eye discipline, gap discipline, rush lane integrity. Like, all of this game is just stay home. Like, don't.
I know. Well, you say that, and I was watching a little bit of the Pittsburgh game in preparation for this, and you can just see the gap integrity is not there. There's space inside, and James Cook is really good at weaving his way and picking up those yards.
Yeah, they want to cut back. They want to cut the ball back through the middle of the field. So they'll run the ball to the weak side of the formation, and then they'll set up, like by pinning down the defense, they'll set up those cutback lanes, and they just gash Pittsburgh on outside zone weak, right? We're going to stretch it out to the weak side. We're going to cut it back up the middle, and there's just nobody there. So this is such a big game for just all discipline in all areas, like eye discipline, gap integrity. Obviously, when you rush Josh Allen as a passer, you don't want to be out of your gap. You don't want to create lanes where he can escape the pocket. So this is a really big one of those games. Now, I think the difficult part is, and Mike Vrabel alluded to this on Wednesday, you also don't want to just watch him throw the ball. Like, you got to pressure him a little bit. You can't just stand there and watch him either. So there's a big, it's hard to strike that balance, but there is a balance between being disciplined, but also putting pressure on him that you have to find with Josh Allen.
Yeah, and the Patriots' run defense maybe hasn't been quite as stout as they were early in the season. Still very good. You'd consider that to be Bills rushing attack versus Patriots rush defense, strength on strength.
Yeah.
We look at the other side of the ball, maybe a little bit more of a weakness on weakness. And, I feel the similar way about Buffalo's run defense, where they're 32nd in yards per attempt, and they've given up some chunk yardage, but I think they've been better the last couple weeks. And it goes back to the question I feel like we ask every week here on this preview: can the Patriots start to get running? Reminder, Stevenson dealt with a toe injury, missed a few games. He came back, still didn't seem like himself. Maybe this bye week did a little bit of good. I mean, is that an X factor for this game? Is if Travion Henderson and Reminder Stevenson are to have a throwback game, or all of a sudden the Patriots' run offense looks like they're producing?
Yeah, I would hope so. And I think the biggest thing there, too, is, A, can you run it situationally? Can you run it in short yardage, goal line, that sort of thing? And then B, can you pop 1 or 2 big runs? And I think what the Patriots will have, and Josh McDaniels will have, is they'll have 1 or 2 schemed up rushes that they know the front they're going to get from Buffalo is going to be an over front. So the backside B gap's going to be open. So whether it's, a lead play or something like that, they're going to have a couple of just wrinkles in there, I'm sure, that they're going to try to get Travion Henderson on the second and third level of this Bills defense with a big run. So it might not be a consistent 4 or 5 yards at a time that you might see out of some better run offenses in the league, but maybe they can pop one for 40, 50 yards that kind of tilts the game in their favor. So it is a weaker Bills run defense. It always kind of has been in Buffalo because they play so much nickel. Yeah. Now this year they're playing a lot more dime and base than they have in the past, which is a wrinkle and kind of different than what they've done historically under Sean McDermott. But they've always been a little bit of a lighter defense and been more pass-centric defensively. So I've always felt like their run defense was vulnerable, but you have to be able to run the football for explosives against this team. I don't think it's good enough to just kind of get 3-4 yards at a time.
Yeah, get Travion Henderson in space. Look, let's finish it up with Drake Maye. This is as we always do. Look back earlier in the season when the Patriots went into Buffalo, Sunday night football game, great atmosphere. Drake comes through with, the only game-winning drive of his career, but outstanding performance, shaking guys off, making plays down the field. Now we come out of the bye, and I feel like this is a chance to really cement his MVP candidacy, going against last year's MVP, and then he'll have to follow it up going against last year's MVP runner-up, even though, again, the Ravens aren't quite what they were last year. What do you want to see from Drake? What's the attitude that you think he needs to go into this game with? It's a huge game for this kid.
Well, my guess is that he's going to see a lot more of the game plan that was in the first half in week 5 and not so much the blitz-happy game plan that was in the second half. And I think the Bills will probably learn their lesson of blitzing Drake Maye, and you'll see a lot more 7, 8 guys in coverage, maybe a spy, maybe some disguise zone coverages, try to get him to hold the ball and beat you from the pocket, a lot like the conversation we have with Josh Allen on the other side. So I'm interested to see how he kind of goes against a team a second time, and a good team a second time around, because in the first half of that game, the Bills held him to 93 yards. His completion percentage is around 56%. And the second half, he's 93% completions, 180 yards passing, game-winning drive, had just an unbelievable second half. So my guess is, if they're smart, the Bills will say, we're going to put the second half in the trash can, and we're going to go with the game plan that is in the first half that was able to limit him a little bit. So what are Drake Maye and Josh McDaniels' answers to some of those more coverage-heavy looks where you're not blitzing, you're rushing 4, 7 guys in coverage, probably a lot of cover 2, 2 high safeties to try to keep the top on the defense. So I'm interested to see if he has that patient, matriculate the ball, take the profits kind of game.
Yeah. Well, guys, it's a huge game this weekend for the Patriots. Should be an outstanding atmosphere. Be sure to tune into the Patriots pregame show starting at 11:45 on Sunday morning. Kickoff's at 1. We'll see you then.